Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I got asked a question by someone, and that question was, what is the minimum amount of sets that you need to see good gains in a muscle or a lift, meaning both size and or strength, and how do you go about determining what is an optimal number of sets for you to do? And that gets really tricky to answer because particularly with the latter question, there are so many factors involved that giving an answer would be almost impossible. And genetics and training experience and work capacity are the biggest three. There is a massive genetic component to the latter one, and the answer is going to be dramatically different from one person to the next. But to answer the first question, this is going to throw people off. While I don't always like everything Mike Minzer said or a lot of the HIIT stuff, the truth is one work set that works you at an intensity level and a workload level that allows the recruitment of all available motor units is all that is required to stimulate noticeable amounts of growth, or significant amounts. And what I mean is that a minimum of 50 to 60% of the possible growth that you could stimulate from a single training session can be done in one set, possibly more. For some people, up to 70 to 80% of all the growth that they could possibly get from a 3-hour workout could be stimulated in one set in the target muscles. And it could be done anywhere between a 3 and 10 rep range, just depending upon how you go about achieving it, whether you're using primarily metabolic fatigue to get those upper threshold fibers, whether you're using pure mechanical tension to do it. But muscle failure actually isn't required for that until you start going over about 10 reps. If you start working with loads around 70% or less, particularly under 70% of your max, yeah, you'll have to go to failure generally to hit those upper threshold fibers. But when you start working with weights heavier than that, that's not a requirement any longer. And generally for people who aren't stacking very large amounts of testosterone, growth hormone, and insulin together, people who are in short drug-free or moderate to modest enhanced users, generally frequency will trump volume to a certain extent, both for hypertrophy, which is muscle growth, and strength. So honestly, an ultra high frequency training system with very minimal volume but high quality work sets for those people may very well be the best way to bring up a weak point or to ensure optimal development. So when it comes to determining things like optimal volume, you've got that massive genetic component, you've got your work capacity component, then you got the frequency component. Someone who's hitting each body part 3, 4, or 5 times a week obviously isn't going to be able to replicate their performance and workload or have a life outside of the gym if they're doing large numbers of sets for it. So you can't really pin something like that down without experimentation, but for the majority of people, extremely good results in terms of stimulating growth and adaptation, and possibly near optimal results can be achieved with a relatively low number of sets, somewhere about 3 to 5 sets. But keep in mind, after that first set, you're not inducing nearly as much additional growth over the first set because you've generally, if you've done it correctly, you've hit all of the available muscle fibers, you've hit all the upper threshold fibers, you've hit the endurance fibers, you've hit all those intermediate fibers in between, you've already hit them. What you're usually doing beyond that first or second set is just trying to induce more metabolic fatigue rather than just recruit more muscle fibers to try to stimulate additional growth. But you do need to keep in mind it doesn't stimulate a massive amount more than you did with the early work. You might be spending that extra 5 to 10 sets trying to get 5% more growth. So it's really a tricky topic to delve into in a YouTube video, but I will go with my original answer. The amount of sets that you need to achieve a very significant or good amount of muscle growth or strength is actually one work set, as long as it is a quality set and performed in a way that hits all the upper threshold fibers. All right guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you next time.